Hi everyone, my name is Thomas Kim. Today is October 23rd, 2022. This is my 117th episode for C++ 17 2023 CUDA SQL OpenGL OpenCL DBB. This is also 6th episode for OpenGL context. We will create OpenGL debugging rendering context in this episode. If you want to understand OpenGL context, I would highly recommend these links. Windows extensions to OpenGL, this link. This link is quite useful for understanding OpenGL on Windows platform. Also, creating an OpenGL context. This link. This document is must read if you understand how to create OpenGL context on Windows. Also, OpenGL Programming Guide 9th edition. From this book, I would recommend you to read Appendix G, Debugging and Profiling OpenGL. We will create debug context. Also, OpenGL SuperBible 5th edition. From this book, I would recommend you to read Chapter 13, OpenGL on Windows. I also assume you have watched my previous videos listed here. From episode 116, OpenGL Context 5. Please double-click this link. If you haven't watched my previous episode, episode 116, it might be difficult for you to follow my current session. Download current video's source code. Please click it. Show in folder, unzip it, rename 17, copy, paste it in your working directory. In this folder, double-click it. Press Ctrl F5. You should be able to build and run successfully. Now, close it. From Solution Explorer or Class View, select Scene View, double-click it. Also, double-click Create Dummy Context. We will also open the header file or Solution Explorer header scene view.h. I will auto hide and arrange side by side. Here I will create protected section. In this section, C client DC MP DC. This is pointer. We set null. This is null pointer. MP DC will be set at this function. Cut, paste it here in this function. In this function, create dummy context. This function returns dummy context and initialize this MPDC. in this function, this MPDC new C client DC, we pass this. We initialize MPDC this member in the function create dummy context. Please understand that we created this function in our previous episode 116. Now, instead of doing this, we can say this MPDC get save HDC. So we fixed this part. HRC, we create dummy context. We return dummy context HGLRC rendering context. Now press Ctrl F5. It should build and run successfully. OK, successfully created OpenGL dummy context. Now close it. Close it. We will create one more function. Here, full setup pixel format. Copy this function. We will create it here. Of course, we need class name here. I would highly recommend you to reference this document while watching my current video. Control click. Sorry, I missed like this. Copy this link. Why it does not work? Control click. No, it doesn't work. This is the document. If you scroll down, you can find this text. Paste it here. Here. HDC. HDC. This MPDC. Get save HDC. So we can pass HDC here. We use WGL draw to window. Support OpenGL, double buffering, pixel type ARGB. So this is attribute type, this is attribute value. Attribute type, attribute value. Now here, into pixel description, you can use describe pixel format. We pass HDC pixel format. Size of, we need to declare pixel format descriptor, pixel format descriptor, we initialize to 0. We pass this byte size, then pixel format descriptor, std cout, we give carriage return, then pfd std enter. Please understand that we defined operator in our previous episode. Here, we defined stream output operator for pixel format descriptor in our previous episode. Now, Control N. Back here, return, choose pixel format. We pass HDC, then pixel format descriptor. If it fails, it returns 0, then true, else false. So we store pixel format descriptor to our device context. In this function, we retrieve pixel format index or pixel format. Then we fill pixel format descriptor with information for pixel format. Then we store pixel format description onto HDC. Now Control F5. Okay, it should build and run successfully. Now in this file, this is setup pixel format. Here we declare HGL rendering context MRC. This is pointer semantic. Please see the pop-up window. This is pointer semantic. So we will initialize with null. This rendering context or MHRC, I would say MHRC will be initialized at, we will create another function bool set OpenGL context. We will pass HGLRC dummy context int major version, int minor version, int context profile. Copy this. This will be set in this function. So MHRC or rendering context will be initialized in this function. This function will create HGLRC and delete dummy context created in the function this function. Okay, so this function creates dummy context. This function uses dummy context to create final rendering context or final rendering context. I need to copy this function and paste it here. Copy, paste. I would highly recommend you to reference this document. For example, you can find the link like this. Now, here, if GLEW is supported, we pass GLARB create context. If it is not one, SED cout OpenGL version 3.2 above should be supported. STD and there. We failed, so we return false. Now here, if defined debug or defined debug else and if this is debug build, I would highly recommend you to reference this document, OpenGL Programming Guide 9th edition, Appendix G, Debugging and Profiling OpenGL, Creating Debug Context, int attributes. So we are initializing WGL context, major version ARB, we pass major version, then copy paste, this is minor version, so we pass minor version, these are OpenGL version, WGL context profile mask ARB, we pass context profile, then WGL context flags ARB, WGL context debugger with ARB. We are enabling debugging capability. This is for debugging or debug build. Then 0 or 0 end of the array. Don't miss semicolon. Now copy this, paste it here. This is for non-debug build, so we don't need this. Or I can simply disable it. This is for debugging. So I can say std cout setting debugging OpenGL context std and there copy paste setting non-debugging OpenGL context. After this, we can set HDC this MP gas safe HDC this HGLRC WGL create context attrib ARB. We pass HDC, then 0, then attributes. So we are passing these attributes to here. In this function, we initialize this HGLRC for rendering context. Inset OpenGL context. This function will create MHRC or final rendering context. We created final rendering context. Now WGL make current. We pass HDC null. Then WGL delete context. WGL delete context. We delete dummy context. We created this dummy context through function parameter. So we delete dummy context. Then return WGL make current HDC this MHRC. Now press Ctrl F7 to build. Now in scene view, once again, right after get document, bool initialize rendering context into major version. We will initialize 4. Int minor version, we will initialize 6. Int context profile, we will initialize WGL context core profile bit ARB semicolon copy here paste. We have to remove default values. Copy the class name, paste it here. Now auto dummy context we call create dummy context. If GLEW okay, not GLEW init, we initialize OpenGL library. we wrote OpenGL functions std cout failed to load OpenGL library functions std and return false. Setup pixel format. If this is not true, std cout failed to set pixel format std and return false. Now return setup OpenGL. We are calling this function. We pass dummy context, major, version, minor, version, then context profile. Now in this function, if initialize, we are calling this function. We will use default values std cout rendering context successfully initialized std and else copy paste failed to initialize rendering context. Now press Ctrl F5. Here we create new scene. So successfully created OpenGL dummy context. This is pixel format descriptor. Setting debugging OpenGL context because we are using debug build. Rendering context successfully initialized. We can try another scene. So it all works correctly. Now close it. In the release, we have to close this window. Now press Ctrl F5. Now we are in release build. We create a new scene, then setting non-debugging OpenGL context. It works correctly. Now close it. Please understand that we haven't programmed to clean up OpenGL rendering context yet. In next episode, I will explain how to clean up OpenGL rendering context.